Good. One. What?
Can I get, you know, the thing at the end of the instrument that I use in the morning?
Tambourine.
Tambourine.
Sure.
Can I get one?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Screaming?
Ja, je weet het, maar ik weet het niet over.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Why did you come back? Did they kick you out?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Ay,
Also the fun was good.
Why you all standing on the sideline? Come
We're bringing some of the pieces together.
that out. And you're going to have them stop right here.
Anyone see Jaya to come in?
Go ahead, get in there.
Yeah, wait. And then Prabhupada decides to leave. I'm going to dress, so I'm going to stay. You come with me.
Hare Krishna.
I can say this with some kind of realization. Vrindavan travels with him. He travels in Vrindavan. I can say that. That's so wonderful. Vrindavan is there. And we hear my teacher. And my free lessons. He is my Oh, I so need him. Yes, it's wonderful. This will be my fourth every day of my life, I'm listening to Prabhupada lessons for 6 weeks. Wondrous with the senses when he dances. Very wonderful.
Sitting around telling jokes. Situated.
He was on the stage. Monday for the Rath Yatra? All right. Are you planning? Okay, great.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Where do you want it? Prabhupada ki Put it against the wall, yeah?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me in the back? Haribo. Thank you for being here at 26th Avenue, the place where it all began. So this is wonderful that you're all here. It's going to be a little kind of challenging to get things situated, but I invite everybody who can to find a space, and Prabhupada will lead us in Kirtan very shortly. So we're setting up chairs now.
For the infirm elders.
For the, well, I'm not going to say
Infirm elders.
If anybody particularly needs a seat for health reasons, please come up now.
I'm waving. Your other half arrived.
Need a chair for morning, all right? but not here. You okay? Yes. Wait a minute. I need a cushion. I'm sorry.
We have to give you a chair that hugs the wall so that people can see.
I need a cushion. Will someone see the cushion? Cushion, you're here.
Real serious.
Okay. Got it.
What an event, right? That's doing a great job.
Not that I know of right now. He's on the rug.
Yeah, move over one. Yeah, good.
When? Right now? Okay.
Even though you're from here.
When I was 18,
9 months.
to go to for 1 year.
Yeah, somebody went into that detail, yeah?
True?
Sorry, forgive me, please. Won't happen again.
I'm very particular about that. You make it sacred.
For those of you who might not be able to see in the back, we're garlanding the disciples of Srila Prabhupada.
Haribo!
To honor them for their many years of dedication and service. Should anyone have had a question about that?
Yes, please. That's your elbow there. You want to take a nap, however. You want like
Oh, you have a right. Different color.
So when you bring that out, I'm gonna have to, because I need to show the video as well.
Yes, it's fine. I don't know. If you have to show the video, you have to go all the way there, which is a challenge. You could give the phone to someone and they could show it. Maybe to.
I could lower this actually. Isn't it? While you're bringing it out, I'll lower this. And
Dark after the month of March, January 20th.
Directly offered to the Lord.
Any of this?
Dale, thank you so much. Hare Krishna!
Hare Krishna!
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai! This is a wonderful, wonderful moment for many of us. Over 10 years ago, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj had the idea to renovate 26 2nd Avenue so that it looks like it did when Prabhupada was here in the 60s. His reasoning I found impeccable. People go to temples normally to see the deities. Maybe there's a restaurant there, devotees that they want to see. That's not why people come here. This is a tiny storefront on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. People come here, why? Why do you think they come here? They want an experience of Srila Prabhupada. Because it was from this place that he made magic happen. And magic is actually a reality from the spiritual perspective. It's just a dimension that we don't have access to from the mundane world. So that you are here honoring Prabhupada and this Tirtha with us is very meaningful for us. So Maharaj immediately enlisted Adideva Prabhu, his godbrother, to do extensive research. To find out exactly what did this place look like. So Adideva Prabhu and his wife went through all the films, went through all the photographs, read all the biographies, interviewed as many disciples who were here at that time as they possibly could. And they had a comprehensive picture of what was going on. So you may look around here at this wall and say, okay, you might think, that looks semi-psychedelic, that reminds me of the 60s, but this is exactly the way it was in the 60s. Now, during the 60s, things changed often. So it's not like 2nd Avenue looked like one particular way. But there's a photograph on the wall, and I encourage you, whenever you can, to look at all the walls closely. And there are little descriptions beneath many of the pictures, photographs, and other things, and explain what's going on. For example, since I brought up this wall, there's a picture of that wall from 1966 or 7. 67. From 1967, and then just look at that photograph, and then look at that wall. It's incredible the job that this team of devotees has done. So there's a lot to be said, but I'm not going to say it now because we want to just continue the program. But it's very meaningful that over a decade later, after the project sort of took a back seat for many years, that it could be revived. And I'm going to speak for Adideva Prabhu, although he probably doesn't want me to. The best thing he probably ever did in his life was to surrender to Srila Prabhupada. The second best thing he probably ever did in his life was to get married and raise the family that he's raised. The third best thing he's ever done in his life is probably bringing Vamanadeva Prabhu onto this project. Vamanadeva Prabhu is his godbrother, and what the two of these devotees have done for this project cannot be expressed in words. Vamanadeva Prabhu is just this non-stop machine of devotional activity. They work so beautifully together. Just to see them in action together was moving and inspiring for Prabhupada's grand disciples and great-grand disciples in one case that could behold it. So our really great debt that we have to both of you. Maharaj wanted you both to lead this, and you have done so in a wonderful, wonderful way. Thank you very much. Does this look familiar to anybody? This says Krishna Consciousness, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. This is referred to by devotees as the Happening album. The Happening was a term in the 60s. Yeah, I'm going to a happening. It's an event. It's a big deal. Happening also was the name of the record company. Prabhupada, before any success, recorded an album here in New York City in 1966. That recording is the Happening album. This influenced so many people. You probably heard it and probably didn't realize it was this, for some of you. He chants. He also speaks about Krishna consciousness. It is not an artificial imposition of the mind. That's from this album, among so many other things. So Prabhupada will now lead us in Kirtan from this album. This is the actual album for the 60s. It's not a reproduction. I don't know how many pressings they did of it. But we've got the copy of the album. and we're going to play it right now. In call and response, we'll respond to Prabhupada. I encourage everybody, I'm sorry if it's uncomfortable, please move up to make room, because we do have overflow spilling out into the street. So as much as possible, inch forward, even a couple inches will help. Forward, yes.
Not the regular. People need to set this up as only they listen to it. Yeah, that's fine.
Can we open the window there on the back? It will
Yes.
make a flow of air that
Yeah.
will be very helpful. It is open. Fully, fully. Because there are so many people. On the way up. Thank you.
Come on.
Supporting the dancing of Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa Parvati-Acharya, Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Premsika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Navrup Dham ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani ki Jai. Go Pramanandi.
Haribol.
All glories to Simla Bhoti.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Simla Bhoti.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Simla Bhoti.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to 26nd Avenue. Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol.
What mic for the speakers? Is this the same one? We are going to begin by reading. Excuse me, let me back up a second. Every Wednesday night we do a program here called Prabhupada Meditations. This is an expanded version of that program. This was also the vision of His Holiness Radhanath Swami, who said, come together with the devotees, short program, an hour, and read about Srila Prabhupada, not from Srila Prabhupada's books, but from the books of his disciples who wrote about their experiences with Srila Prabhupada, because there's so much juice there, there's so much benefit there. Sometimes we have special guests, sometimes we play a video, all focused on a meditation of Srila Prabhupada. So, His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj, one of Prabhupada's very first disciples, was requested to write a little preamble, and he obliged. And we read that preamble every single week before beginning that program. And we figured we would continue to do that just to set the mood of this holy place today. 26th Avenue is a unique pilgrimage site among all temples, outreach centers, and country farms within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada arrived in the U.S. in September of 1965, and for almost an entire year, he received very little response, living as a guest in the home of Dr. Mishra in uptown Manhattan. Eventually, a student found him a rented storefront on the Lower East Side, and when he moved there, his first serious students started regularly attending his kirtans and lectures. In September of 1966, on the day of Janmashtami, Srila Prabhupada initiated his first American disciples, and soon after, working with a lawyer, he officially incorporated the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, as a tax-exempt religious corporation. The Swami was very accessible to his disciples. From the day of his arrival in the U.S., Prabhupada continued wearing his saffron sannyas dress and rubber pointy shoes. He lectured in this very storefront in the evenings of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, he stayed in his apartment, sitting at a low desk and conversing informally, answering questions from the devotees crowded in the room. Srila Prabhupada loved the 1966 period. Even at the end of his life in 1977 in Vrindavan, he reminisced about the time at 26th Avenue. He recalled, quote, "Those were happy days," unquote. We were like a close family. All the devotees of ISKCON have a heartfelt feeling of gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for coming to 22nd Avenue and starting the Krishna Consciousness movement. Devotees should make a point of visiting the first ISKCON temple and take part in the weekly programs that are going on now.
Haribol.
Haribol. I'd like to thank, there are a few of our donors who contribute monthly to the maintenance of this tirtha, and I'd like to especially thank them. By that sacrifice, we're able to keep going, and we're able to do at least part of what we're trying to do here. There's always more to do, but you're making it possible. Every contribution that anyone gives, this is not a pitch, I'm just saying a fact. Every every contribution that everyone makes in that regard opens this place up to literally devotees around the world who come here, maybe the only time they'll ever be in New York. And they come, and I've seen it, and many of us have seen it, and they weep just walking in here. And that's the way it was, what to speak of the way it is now. So thank you all for your contributions in whatever way you have contributed, even if it's good wishes and prayers. That works for us. I'd like to bring up one of Srila Prabhupada's very dear disciples, His Grace Yogeshwar Prabhu, to begin with a brief talk.
Where are you going to go? Here? Can you move to?
No, I think you can stand there, then it will be all open. That's a better. You can also film. I think that side is a better side.
You can run that there.
Okay.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Advaita Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Bol. First of all, it's unusual to be asked to speak before some of our more illustrious guests here this afternoon. But, Ishwara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes very clear to Arjuna that Krishna consciousness is not a cult. He says, I dwell in the hearts of all beings. And even though we celebrate this place as the birth site of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that's not a sectarian celebration. It's not the launch of a cult. It is, if anything, quite the opposite. It is the birthplace of a vision of all beings as sparks from the one supreme Godhead, who we call Sri Krishna. I remember one time in Paris when a group of religionists came to see Srila Prabhupada, and they asked him, Swamiji, tell us what is the highest truth you know. We were very interested to meet you. We want to know what is the highest truth in your religion. And he said, oh, the highest truth. Yes, no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, and no gambling. And they said, no. These are your basic principles of behavior. We appreciate that. What is the highest truth in your practice? What is the deepest secret in your teachings? Oh, the deepest secret. No illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. I say, but these are external. I mean, we eat meat, and that's irrelevant. That's on the level of the material body and the world around us. Prabhupada said, well, what is your form of worship? They said, well, we worship Jesus. Really? Do you accept that Jesus said to us, thou shalt not kill? Yes, we accept that. He took his hand and he slammed it on his desk. And he said, then why do you continue to kill and sin? If you accept that Jesus died for your sins, why do you continue to sin? And he started to cry. Now, I'm all of 21 years old or whatever when this happened, and I'm looking and saying, what's going on here? It took me many years before I understood that here is someone who knows something about what it's like to give your life for God. And then when people come and they cherry pick the parts that they like and they disregard the parts that are inconvenient, he feels that deeply. And someone who has given his life so that we can know God confronts this tendency to go window shopping. And whenever Prabhupada would meet a religionist, this was another big question for me. Why is it that so often the topic of discussion is no meat eating? Why was that so fundamental in Paris when he met with Cardinal Danielou, for example? That was the main topic of the discussion. And if you read the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he met with John Kazi, this was their topic of discussion. And I asked him one time, I said, Srila Prabhupada, whenever you meet with people, religious, priests, rabbis, and so on, this seems to be the one topic that you go to. Why is that? He said, because if they don't understand the basics, how can they ever understand love for God? If they do not understand that every living being is a spark of God, then where is there any pretense of understanding any deeper truths? So what he presented to us, we call it Krishna consciousness. It incorporates everyone in the universe, every living being. And the thing that has always impressed me when I meet devotees who have achieved a certain particular level of advancement is this appreciation that what they came to understand in Srila Prabhupada, his great gift, was this ability to see in the hearts of all beings, human and other than human, that same spark of God whom we choose to call Lord Sri Krishna. So I thought, when I thought about saying something here today, it occurred to me that that might be important to remind us that when we're here, this amazing job of reconstructing 26 2nd Avenue, which we are forever grateful to the devotees who have given so much to make this happen. It is also a resurrecting of that core message of Srila Prabhupada's mission. That we are meant to go out and become agents of change in the world, not to make everyone wear saris and dhotis. Not that I'm a particularly good example of how to dress like a devotee. But to see in the hearts of all beings that same spark of the Supreme Lord. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshe arjunatistati. And being with Srila Prabhupada, which people always ask me to talk about, what it was like being with Prabhupada. Every moment with him was a lesson of some kind. There wasn't any moment too small that there wasn't something marvelous in there that you could learn from in his company. And I think quantitatively, the single most prominent lesson was this one. Love everyone. Love all beings, human and other than human. One last quick story. In London, which is where I joined in 1969, Prabhupada's quarters were on a very small landing, the second floor of this building, 7 Bury Place. The bathroom was divided. We divided the bathroom with a compost board because that's the only space we had for the servants' quarters, which were on the other side of this wall. So Prabhupada's bathroom was here, and the servants' quarters were there. And the wall, this artificial wall, abutted with a window at the other end of the bathroom. So from either side you could lift the window up. So I remember sitting there with Shyam Sundar and a couple of other devotees in those days, and we hear a voice saying, "Whose responsibility is this?" We turn around, and there's Srila Prabhupada's head poking around the wall, and looking very sober. And he pointed down to a plant that was sitting on the window ledge, and this poor little plant, from lack of water, was like dying of thirst. And he said, if you're going to have a plant, take care. And he turned on the faucet and splashed water into the pot of the plant. it occurred to me years later that you could take that lesson and just expand it slightly. If you're going to have a planet, take care. Here is someone who came to teach us how to do that. So thank you all very much for being here, for celebrating this resurrection, this resuscitation of 26 Second Avenue, and the great legacy that our spiritual master has brought us.
Thank you very much, Yogeshwar Prabhu. As I ask our GBC representative, New York GBC, His Grace Anuttama Prabhu, to please come up. I'm also going to ask, yes, please hold your applause for a moment. Adi Purusha Prabhu, another Prabhupada disciple, he's outside, he can't make his way in. I would love it if we could just make some... Oh, Ram Roy's also there. Yeah, we have at least a couple people there.
Do you think because the speakers and that's very attractive?
Can we make room on one of the benches, perhaps, for Sham Hari Prabhu?
Because we did it.
His health is not good? I forgot. Sorry.
You're calling me there or here?
There. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know I was out there.
Mother Rukmini, I'll ask you to follow your husband in all respects.
All of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your patience as we just try to make a few adjustments so that the devotees are comfortable. Oh, come on.
Just started. Just started. That's why.
His Grace Ram Roy Prabhu is also here. What's that?
The garlands.
The box.
Can I hand this off to you again? I'm sorry.
Yes. You told me to start.
Tati, should I get a chair for you?
No, I'm okay. No.
I think we're almost there. Okay, I think at this point I will hand it off to the New York GBC, His Grace Anuttama Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I think this is the first time I've ever been asked to speak when they asked everyone to begin with 2 minutes of silence. I'm not sure how to interpret that or not. Is the flag halfway down someplace too? I'm not sure. Okay. Just a brief add to what Yanana said. Fulfill some of my corporate duties. I was recently at a large fundraising event, a big gala dinner in Washington, no, in New York actually. And the president, they showed a whole video of all the contributions, everything they've done during the year, and afterwards he was speaking. So in a similar way, we look here and we see everything that's been accomplished. So he asked everyone in the audience, he said, so some of you are probably thinking, a lot of people must have contributed to help make this a success. He said, if you're thinking like that, you should also think, why don't I contribute? And some of you may be thinking, God must have given you a lot of money in order to be successful. And he said in the same way, if it's good enough for God, maybe it's good enough for you, so also please contribute. So I hope that others will take his message to heart as far as trying to help out. My thanks to His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj for giving the inspiration for this, and Brahmana Prabhu, and all the others, Gaur, the current president, and 26 2nd Avenue. I was thinking a little bit, there's devotees from a lot of different parts of the country, probably definitely at least from the UK, from other countries as well. And many of us travel around the ISKCON world. We go to the beautiful, I'm from DC, got to put in a plug, the beautiful new temple in Washington, DC. Govardhan Eco Village, many of us have visited there. Radhadesh, the Brazilian farm in South America, so many temples. The TOVP, Rajvilas is here, someplace out there, leading the charge for the TOVP. So many beautiful places in ISKCON. And we should all remember that actually this is the seed for all of those. This is such a special place. Without this place, there would be no Radhadesh, there would be no Govardhan Eco Village, there would be no TOVP, actually. It all started from here. So it really is a very, very special and sacred place. It's not just a storefront, it's a seed, as Yogeshwar was describing, of a very, very important movement for the whole world. And it was Prabhupada's vision. And also we should remember his hard work and his compassion for all of us, and of course his love for Krishna that actually enabled this all to happen. And sometimes devotees, I think as time goes by, we tend to almost depersonalize Srila Prabhupada. He becomes not a person, he becomes an icon. He becomes a figurehead. He becomes the founder Acharya without understanding that he's the founding person of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So sometimes devotees tend to think, Prabhupada didn't struggle. I have to struggle in my day-to-day life. All of us may think like that. Prabhupada didn't struggle. Prabhupada did struggle. We know Prabhupada on the way here, we know historically it's recorded he had his 2 heart attacks. Later he went to the hospital. When he was here in 26 2nd Avenue, maybe even before, I think before, it's described he would actually go to the pier and ask, when is the next ship going back to India? Maybe I should go back. Because there was very little success to show for all of his struggles and hard work. Maybe Krishna wants me to do something else. And then he would decide, no, let me continue on a little bit longer. We know later he was hospitalized. We know before Prabhupada came to the West, when he was publishing his Bhakti Godhead magazine, he would go some mornings to have the publisher look at the proofs, or he would look at the proofs, and his printer would ask, Swamiji, have you eaten yet today? And often the message was, no, but that's not important. You say, no, before we discuss this, let me get you something to eat. That's the kind of sacrifices Prabhupada was making for us, so he could come here, so we could establish this center, so from here that he could go around the world. And we really shouldn't forget that. Sometimes we also struggle with our bodies. We struggle with others. I love that one letter. I have to go back and look it up, see who it was written to. But Prabhupada wrote to somebody who was answering all their questions. And he said, regarding the difficulty you're having with so-and-so, please try to tolerate him the same way I tolerate you. So we should think like that also. We always sometimes are facing different obstacles. Excuse me, the same way Prabhupada tolerates us, we should tolerate others and their problems. And we know, although Prabhupada struggled so much, he was successful beyond his expectations, and certainly beyond what others, religion scholars today and into the future, they're beginning to see more and more of the wonderful contributions and amazing successes that Prabhupada had. There's a video, don't have to refer it in detail now, but you can all look at it. Harvard University ISKCON 50th anniversary. It's a 16-minute film, several scholars glorifying the contributions of Srila Prabhupada. And we know that because he held on despite the struggles that he had to face, in the same way if we remember him, if we remember this place, which now we can remember even more vibrantly, that gives us inspiration. A devotee just last night, I was in Central New Jersey, and a young devotee said, how do you maintain your enthusiasm despite the ups and downs? And I told her, I said, because I remember him, and I remember him in this place. And I remember all the struggles that he went through. So if he went through so many struggles, I can similarly and must do the same thing. And just final, I'll mention a word. There's many senior devotees here, some of whom you're here from were here. I was not here. I didn't come till 1975. I came late. I had one conversation with Srila Prabhupada, which was, how many rounds will you chant? What are the 4 principles that you say? I paid obeisances. I walked away thinking I had another name. Somebody had to correct me later. No, your name is this. I said, no, I heard Prabhupada say that. No, your name is this. So I no morning walks, no letters, no personal conversations. Probably a lot of people here will be at the same experience coming in later years. Don't think that only those disciples of Prabhupada that had that personal association direct can have a personal relationship with Prabhupada. Sometimes devotees will say, I wish I was there for the pioneering years. And I was thinking, we haven't studied your history very well, because this movement is predicted to expand for 10,000 years. So 500 years from now, or 1,000 years from now, maybe then they can look back and say, I wish I was there in 2025 for the pioneering years. This is the pioneering years. You are pioneers. And Prabhupada is here, this center is here to inspire us even more to remember that even though things often don't come easy, the same way Prabhupada gave up so much to help us, he's asking us to make sacrifices to try to help the others in this world that have forgotten Lord Krishna. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for carrying this movement forward. I'll just end with this. For a lot of the older people here, it gives us great solace to see younger people here enthusiastically chanting and dancing and honoring Prasadam and glorifying Prabhupada and reading his books. It gives us faith that actually those small sacrifices we made were not in vain, because you're going to carry it forward. So thank you for that. All right.
Thank you so very much. I'll ask Her Grace Rukmini Mataji to please come up. And perhaps His Holiness Jadwaita Maharaj can be next.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Vachani Vishesha Srivali Paschata Deshatani Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Srila Prabhupada was once asked, why did you come to New York? Your Guru Maharaj sent so many disciples to London. Why is it that you came to New York? And Prabhupada said something extraordinary. He said, because I thought if I was going to fail, I would like to fail in a different place. So he was so prepared to come here and fail, and as he prayed on the boat, to Krishna, you can make me a success or failure as you like. But please, somehow you brought me to this horrible place. Please make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. So, yeah, you know, to be so bold, to follow Srila Prabhupada's example. Also once someone asked Srila Prabhupada, if you were going to preach in a different place, where would you like to preach? And he said, I would like to preach in hell. So in fact, that's what he did, you know. He came to New York City, you know, sometimes stepping over the drunken body or dead body of someone here on the Bowery. You know, he came, imagine, you know, we go to Vrindavan now and we maybe only can perceive the periphery or the external Vrindavan, but it's very crowded and they're building so many skyscrapers. But imagine Vrindavan at that time, you know, when Prabhupada left in 1965, such an idyllic, beautiful, holy place. And so many people there were criticizing him. Why are you leaving Vrindavan? You should not cross the ocean, you know. And of course his perception of Vrindavan was so much, it's, you know, unlimitedly deeper than our perception of Vrindavan. So in fact he came to hell to share Lord Chaitanya's message with so many strangers, so many people of different cultures. I always felt that Prabhupada could feel our suffering and could hear our cries. So, you know, just looking around the room, it's so beautiful to see. As Anutama Prabhu was just saying, you know, so many young people, but so many people from so many different cultures. It's wonderful to see all of you here inspired by the magic and the sanctity of this place. And so, yeah, just, I wanted to say that sometimes it's said that Kunti Devi would look back and remember all the ways that Krishna had saved her, and that Prahlad Maharaj would look ahead and trust Krishna in all the ways that Krishna would save him. And Dhruva Maharaj would look within and think of all the ways that he could find Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada looked all around to see how he could serve Krishna. So these are our examples, and especially Srila Prabhupada, you know, look around and see. You know, here at 2nd Avenue, it's so amazing. He was helping the landlord, Mr. Chudy, take out the trash while the boys were, you know, maybe not doing much. And Mr. Chudy didn't like those boys very much, but he respected Prabhupada so much. You know, just imagine his sacrifice coming from Sri Vrindavan Dham to New York City. So in fact, he came to hell for us. So we have to think, what can I do to look around to also serve Srila Prabhupada? And as someone who was here in 1968, I just wanted to share one sweet little story that maybe you haven't heard before. So at that time, this is the time of the Beatles. I think Jayadvaita Swami, you remember the story I'm about to tell. But this time of the Beatles, and you know, girls were shrieking, seeing the Beatles on stage, and throwing jelly beans at George Harrison and all this kind of thing. And so when Prabhupada would come walking down the street, 2nd Avenue, the young girls who were coming to the temple here would kind of shriek and go, "Ah, Swamiji, Swamiji!" It was, you know, the day of the period of the Beatles, right? And so Prabhupada tolerated that for a while, and then at a certain point, he called these young girls who were, you know, 15, 16, 17 years old, and he called them into his room, and he gave them such a sweet instruction. He said, "You are the children of the society, so you must be very grave." So he put a stop to that. So just one sweet little story of Srila Prabhupada at that time. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for trusting Prabhupada, for looking around to see how you can serve New York City or wherever you come from. Like Srila Prabhupada, thank you for trusting Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for remembering all the ways he saved you in your life, and looking within to see how you can find him more deeply. Thank you.
Thank you so much for meeting Prabhu. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj is on his way up here. And then I would love for their graces, Adi Dev and Vamanadev Prabhu's, to please come up. Record player? Be careful with the record player on the side. It's actually a fragile instrument.
Yeah, the record will.
Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurniditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupakoda Mahyam Tadati Shubhamaktikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shri Made Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Ramani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashpati Deshatara Vamadev Prabhu. Air conditioner's not original.
That's why it's not.
Vamadev Prabhu, when I first joined in 1968, Vamadev Prabhu was already here doing the same thing. He was constructing a new dais for Srila Prabhupada and altar for the deities. So still he's serving in that way. So thanks to you and to Adi Dev and to Radhanath Maharaj for bringing things together in this way. This is about the number of people who would be in the storefront for a Sunday feast. Devotees, the people would be stacked like paper cups. So many. But of course then it smelled different. What I especially remember, or one trait of Srila Prabhupada's, a quality of Srila Prabhupada that I especially remember was his gravity. As he instructed the girls, you should be a little grave. He was exceedingly grave. And grave meant, well, he came here one time from Honolulu, and he said that the local newspaper, the Honolulu Advertiser, had published an article that the Swami is a small man, but he has got a big message. And Prabhupada liked that. Prabhupada liked that. That he came to give something with great weight, great a science, something very serious, something very solid, not something, yes, something very serious, something very solid, authentically without compromise, without change. Prabhupada so many times said that was his qualification, that he, like a postal peon was his term, a postman, just delivered the message as he'd received it. So, and that meant without compromise. We've heard that Prabhupada said that he thought as soon as I say these 4 rules, they'll say, now you go back home. But he said, because I knew I wasn't going to compromise. I was going to say these things as they were, and he did. During the Vietnam War and all the protests against it, he spoke about Arjun's duty to fight. During the hippie time of make love, not war, Prabhupada spoke against illicit sex. When LSD was the way to God, Prabhupada spoke against LSD and all the rest of the things people were smoking or dropping or whatever they were doing, ingesting. And Prabhupada pointed out, in fact, when he would point this out, rather than sort of bury it, as well, I'll tell you about that later, when people would ask about his movement, as pointed out, he would say, we don't allow this, we don't allow this, we don't allow this, because everybody else allowed it. For all the other swamis, even they would, some of them would smoke cigarettes themselves. And Prabhupada distinguished himself from the others by presenting the thing as it is. If you want to make spiritual advancement, you have to give up this, you have to give up this, you have to give up this, you have to give up this. Ansarupa Prabhu has come with something on his head. I know. When Prabhupada came to New York, he had those pointy shoes we heard about, and these are those same pointy shoes, gilded, I think, by Rukmini. You arranged for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's done that, huh? Put the shoes on. They won.
On everyone's head.
We can arrange that for a price.
Was an outfit that we were asked to bring for the motif? Brand new outfit?
I think everyone knows what these are. And we're just going to open the case. Do I have to talk?
No, in case you do know.
But not everyone can see. So
We even have a
you have to let your voice be our eyes.
Well, we're going to open this.
We have to take it out.
So Prabhu has Prabhupada's shoes locked in this display case. So he's unlocking the case. He also brought another outfit for Prabhupada, which they're the shoes. Hold them up to show people in the back. Those of you in the middle who are standing, you can just so we get darshan of those shoes.
I think everyone knows these were worshipped first on 2nd Avenue and then on Henry Street on the altar. And eventually, we used to polish them because they've been dipped in bronze to preserve them. But then somebody gold leafed them. I think that was the previous management.
Meaning.
And the gold leaf is wearing off, which is what it does. But these shoes represent, obviously, if we all know the struggle that Prabhupada faced. For the first year, he walked around New York City in rubber bath shoes. Wow. You know, so these, in the harsh winter of 1965, and in these shoes, he wore these shoes on the pavement in New York, and they're rubber, they're plastic. So he wore holes in them. And so then he put cardboard inside and scotch taped it. Or somebody scotch taped it for him to insulate him from the cold. So these are the shoes that started the movement and walked from, what was that? They said the first Harinam, Allen Ginsberg described Prabhupada walking in his white bath shoes to Washington Square Park from 26 2nd Avenue from his park. So these are those shoes. Everyone will get a chance, I think. We can make it up at time and whenever we can. Whenever the rest of the ceremony is done, everyone gets a chance to get the dust from the lotus feet of the Prabhupada. And I don't need to be here in your way. I'll just find some.
Take this in case you still use it.
Yes, take that away.
Don't need a hot mic moment.
Hansarupa Prabhu Ki Jai! If you want to see those and more wonderful artifacts, the Radha Govinda Mandir has a Prabhupada museum that is worth visiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Hansarupa. Thanks for everything you do too.
And Jadwaita Maharaj, I apologize for the interruption.
It's an unfortunate interruption. For those who want to follow in Prabhupada's footsteps, this is the seriousness of those steps, as Hansarupa Prabhu was saying. How much sacrifice, how much tapasya, Prabhupada might say inconvenience, but how much tapasya Prabhupada underwent for spreading this movement. So there are many devotees, I don't want to say much, but Prabhupada gave, when he spoke here, he would speak with so much patience and gravity, explaining a science, explaining something very substantial. Explaining something very substantial that he wanted us to take and wanted us to transmit to the world. One devotee recounted that this is early 1967 or something, that he came in through the adjoining door, through the passageway to the back courtyard in Prabhupada's quarters, and saw in Prabhupada's mailbox, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Acharya, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he chuckled, what international society? It's the Swami and this little small storefront. But everything is vision. The most important thing is vision. If we want to achieve something, then the essential, without vision, there's nothing. The essential element is vision. And that was Prabhupada's vision. He's sitting here in a little storefront or a little apartment in the Bowery of, you're sitting in the upscale, gentrified Lower East Side. Prabhupada was sitting in the dumps where the winos and the crazy hippies were the people. But he had a vision of what he wanted to, what he felt was his duty to do. And that comes from him to us, and from us to the next, and the next, and the next. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jayavekta Maharaj. Good luck getting back to where you are. Okay. Before bringing up Adi Deva and Vamana Deva Prabhus, just want to acknowledge one thing. We just heard from a trilogy of speakers. Rukmini, Mataji, thank you. No.
Yogeshwar.
No. Yeah. Sorry. I'm blanking. I'm sorry. Let me have my notes. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Rukmini and Jadwaita Maharaj, and now Vamana Deva and Adi Deva Prabhus, we've come to affectionately refer to as the Deva brothers. Adi Deva and Vamana Deva. And of course, well, not of course, you probably don't know this, Vamana Deva Prabhu actually lived here in 26 2nd Avenue. He was here for a year in 1968. And I just put these three together because Maharaj was just talking about the 4 rules, right? And we all giggle. In 2025, you know, liquor is rampant, intoxication of all kinds, illicit sex, all of them, they're still rampant. But in the 1960s, it was a philosophy. It wasn't just an escape. It was sex and drugs and rock and roll. And the fact that these devotees took to Krishna consciousness is a mini miracle. And I just would like, in a moment, to give a rousing round of applause for these devotees who are here in the 60s, who fought against the current of mainstream counterculture, and I mean mainstream counterculture society, of rejecting that narrative and following a 70-year-old man. And that narrative included never trust anybody over 30. I'm not making that up. They followed this man and they stayed with it for 50 years. And they paid 60 years, thank you. Math was never my good subject. And they just paved a path that you and I could walk on unhindered. The sacrifice, the austerity, not only them, all of Prabhupada's disciples, but especially them in the early days. One International, like it's just the Swami and a few of us, yeah. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. Thank you all very much. Please. Please don't fight over the microphone.
A few years ago, 10 years ago maybe, my wife and I were here in New York City. It was right after the New York Rath Yatra, and we were walking up to the Skimmerhorn Temple. And this car pulls up, and out walks Radhanath Swami. And he walks up to me, and he says, Adi Deva, I'd like you to help organize and reconfigure 22nd Avenue so it gives the mood of what it was like back in the 1960s. I said, okay. And my wife and I came over here, we got a key, we got in, we talked about it a little bit. From that, the Rath Yatra, I brought a changing bodies exhibit, and so I put that in the window up there in the front. That was there for many years. Anyway, this sort of, it just was on the back burner. I was busy at that time trying to earn a living, and I had 2 daughters. But as time progressed, Radhanath and I met several times, and he kept reminding me, Adi Deva. But I knew he had a vision. I wanted to get his vision. I didn't have his vision. I kept thinking, preaching center, ways to promote it to where the public would come in. But then finally in a phone call, I believe it was, Maharaj said, Adi Deva, I want this to be a place of pilgrimage for all the devotees of ISKCON, anyone on a spiritual path should come here. This is a shrine, it's a holy dham here in the Western world. And I still didn't get it. I mean, I got it to a certain extent, but then Bhamradev, my good friend, and I came up here a year ago, and we were in here working and thinking and planning, and the doors were open, the gates, the crazy cage on the outside was up, and people were coming in, just off the street, just coming in. And it's just like, this place is magic, it's mystical. And so then I finally got
the vision. That this is a place of pilgrimage. And so that's what we've tried to do. Baladev and I go back a long ways. I won't get into our whole history, but he's in a men's group that we have down in Alachua. If you ever want to go south, please visit us down in Alachua. We'll show you the crocodiles and the alligators. But
thanks.
But with his help and his determination, we slowly built a whole team, a wonderful team of devotees that are completely dedicated to this. And I'll let him talk on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hari Dev.
Well, I'm more than honored to be standing here to represent a very early period. I was here. In fact, I was initiated in the same ceremony as His Holiness Jayadvaita.
Closer to the microphone, please.
I was initiated in this room with Jayadvaita in, I think it was April of 1968. And where Hansarupa is sitting right now, I was laying down there sleeping, right on my head right now. So I did spend some serious time here, most of 1968. And once again, I wanted to just to thank the team that was assembled in order to do this, inspired by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, Radhanath Swami. And a lot went into this. At one point, we were going, as we have said before, going through pictures and going through frame by frame, trying to figure out how to lay it out. And it coalesced very nicely in concept. But there's a lot that goes into it, from the conceptual into the practical. And it kept going on until we got it very close to where it is now, but we were still a long ways away from what it looks like now. And so about, maybe it was 3 or 4 days ago, I started really worrying, and because things really had to be done. So much work had to be done and finalized in order to meet this deadline. And so in desperation, I asked my good wife, Chitralekha, and I said, this is almost an impossible task. I don't see how it's going to come together. There's so many moving parts. It's like herding cats. There's so many different moving parts and so many things to be done. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. And he said, why? But then all of a sudden, everything started falling into place. And I was becoming very, very surprised. And she said, why are you so surprised? He says, we've gone through this many times over the years. Every time Prabhupada was coming, there was a project that Prabhupada wanted, everything was a mess, and to the point where when Prabhupada would come into a temple, that was just, a new temple or something, he said, all my ISKCON temples smell like fresh paint. Because that was the mood. We repainted. Every time we came, we repaint, we fix it up. And as Prabhupada would be walking in the door, we'd be sweeping and cleaning and throwing things in the closets and whatever. Again and again it would happen like that. So it's not a surprise that it happened. But I don't take any credit. The credit goes to all the people, everyone in the team. I would be here for the next 20 minutes if I was to actually properly identify and praise all the team that we have. And with that, I'll let you, go to the next speaker. I thank you for coming here, and please, as should be the case, be inspired by this. It's a humble beginning of our great society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded and begun by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and I'm proud to be a disciple of His Divine Grace. Hare Krishna.
Thank you both very much, Deva brothers. I would like to invite His Grace Rameshwar Prabhu to come up and As you can tell, we're not going in any particular order,
That is for sure.
right? Senior to junior, Varna,
To
Ashram.
fallen. I'm gonna do something. Just follow it. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva patitanan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I did not know I was going to speak, but I'd like to say two things. Whenever I reflect on what Prabhupada did from here, I think of how he has this empowered ability as a, not just founder, Acharya, Shaktavesh avatar, to reach into the spiritual sky, the spiritual world, into Krishna Loka, and bring some substance down into this lowly planet. It's unbelievable that he has this ability. And what he did in this location is he took a spiritual substance, the greatest substance of all, the Bhakti Lata Bija, and he brought it down from the spiritual world right here. And his chanting and lecturing and his love created from this seed an unbelievable tree of bhakti whose branches continue to grow all around this planet. And the fruits from that tree continue to drop and nourish devotees throughout the entire earth. That's what Prabhupada did when he came here in 1966. He brought that substance down into this earth. And that's how I think of this place and what Prabhupada did here. The other thing I wanted to share is 10 years after Prabhupada began here, in 1976, I was contacted by the Macmillan Company. I've been in communication with them about other things. And they asked me to please try to arrange for there to be a biography written of Srila Prabhupada. They wanted to publish it. So I discussed this with Prabhupada. And he just went like this. We were in his room and he just, no, just like that. I'm here to glorify Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. I'm not at all interested in anything that even resembles glorifying me. He told me that and told me to tell Macmillan no, which I did. And that's our Prabhupada. He was so single-minded in bringing Krishna and Lord Chaitanya to the whole, to every soul in the world, not anything for himself, just giving, giving, giving. For those who had the good fortune of sometimes traveling with Prabhupada as his secretaries or servants, we saw something astonishing. This is the third thing, sorry. We actually witnessed Prabhupada giving up sleep. We witnessed him taking rest at 10 o'clock and rising at midnight. We witnessed from midnight on, he was translating and he was having conversations with Krishna in his heart and dictating and writing his translations and his commentaries. Prabhupada did a book a month for 10 years. A 400-page book, average. This is the average. One book, 400 pages, every single month. Now, for those in this room who've ever written a book, this is not human. A 400-page book, every month for 10 years in a row. So I sometimes was privileged, I don't know why, to see that Prabhupada gave up what no one could give up. I mean, it's like reading something from the saints of Lord Chaitanya's era, that no one can give up sleeping for a decade. I think of myself at the age I'm in, and I just try to imagine, what is that like? To give up sleep every day for years and years and years because you want to save every conditioned soul. That our Prabhupada. Thank you.
I just love that point, you know. In the 70s, everybody knew Hare Krishna. Everybody knew Hare Krishna. Nobody knew Srila Prabhupada. You say the name A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, no one knew who that was. So he gave fame to Krishna. He didn't accept any fame. That's our job. That's our job, and those who follow, to give Prabhupada the fame that he deserves. I would like to invite His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu to come up and say a few words.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Swaparam Nigam. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktaranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is really a moving experience to be here in this place where the Hare Krishna movement started, and to have it remodeled back to the way it was when Prabhupada was here. This is I have no words to express the great honor and great ecstasy to be here for this. And we are very indebted to Radhanath Swami Maharaj and the Deva brothers and everyone else who had anything to do with this. And it's just amazing. So many of you are feeling that we were very fortunate. We got Prabhupada's association. I didn't get it. You know, you shouldn't feel like that you're unfortunate. You're more fortunate than us. One time, I'll make the story short. I usually tell it in a long version. But there was a wonderful devotee named Kartikeya. He's no longer in this world, so you won't find his memory tape anywhere. But he personally told me this story, that they were in Hawaii, very, very early days, when still he was called Swamiji. And it rained, so Prabhupada asked for halava. And Govindadasi had brought some wheat germ from the market one day, and he thought, I'm going to make the halava with wheat germ, and Swamiji will be so pleased. So it rained, and Prabhupada asked for halava, because it keeps you nice and warm. So he went in the kitchen, he was just cooking. Oh, Swamiji's going to really like this wheat germ halava, he's really going to like it. He was just this whole meditation, Swamiji will be so pleased. He brought it into Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada took one look, said halava means suji. Suji is cream of wheat, for those who don't know. Halava means suji. And with the left hand, he said, take it. Now, if you drink something by the left hand, that's very heavy, you know. And Kartikeya was a very sensitive devotee. He was broken. He was completely shattered. And he went and he sat in front of the picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the altar. And he began to pray that I was just trying to please your spiritual son, Swamiji, and somehow he's become so upset with me that he started to cry. He's a very sensitive devotee. He started to cry. All of a sudden he heard Prabhupada's voice. Kartikeya? Kartikeya? He ran to Prabhupada's room. He said, bring that halava. So he brought a bowl of halava. With great gusto, Prabhupada ate it all. He said, bring some more. And he brought it. This way Prabhupada finished off the whole pot of halava. He said, two things I learned from this. One is that Prabhupada is not alone. There's a whole chain, because he was of spiritual masters all the way up to Krishna. He was praying to Bhaktisiddhanta. There's a whole chain of spiritual masters all the way up to Krishna, giving us this rope to pull us out of this material world. And the second thing he said I learned was that Prabhupada always said the grandfather is more merciful than the father. So you're more fortunate than us, because you have Prabhupada as your grandfather's Krishna. To us. And I see it, the second generation is doing so many wonderful things all over the world. We're just, amazed, And second thing, we were talking about Prabhupada, producing these books. And what did Prabhupada say? He said, these purports are my personal ecstasies. And what more personal association do you want? Personal ecstasies. And that wasn't available. We just heard Prabhupada, when we were sound asleep, Prabhupada was translating this. Nobody was allowed in the room. But you can get the personal ecstasies, the most personal association with Srila Prabhupada. Even today, you just crack open any book. You're getting the most personal association with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai! And Vamadev and the two Dev brothers talking was reminding me that we have a great sage in America named Murphy. He says 90% of the work gets done in 10% of the time. He said 10% of the work gets done in 90% of the time, and 90% of the work gets done in 10% of the time. So I think we see this manifested here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I would like to invite His Grace Pancharaga Prabhu to say a few words.
The work that's being done here to recreate this sacred place, to bring us closer to what it was then, is certainly very, very important and admirable. But I've been thinking that what's outside is nothing like it was then. We're sitting here now, you go next door, there's a shiny new building. To really appreciate, to see the simplicity, the tightness of this space, and how intimate it was, to think how Srila Prabhupada would cook in a room back here, and how, I think it was, you were talking about how one became a devotee. His first visit had the feast, and somehow or other he ended up as the last person there in the room, and there was all this pile of pots and pile of plates, and he looked around and said, no one else is here. There's only Swamiji, so I guess he's also going to clean it up. And he said, maybe I could help him. And as I he said that Srila Prabhupada responded, I was just praying to Krishna that someone may offer to help. But what was outside was nothing like it is now. This was a wild and woolly place. I mean, some of us are old enough to remember the 60s. We're in this place. I came to New York. I'm one of the actual upstate New Yorkers. Nowadays, people say upstate New York. They say anything outside of the city. You go north of the city and it's upstate New York, right? But Rochester is actually upstate. I used to come down to the city and I hung around in this area. I never got here. But I saw it for what it was. And even in the 70s, when I moved here as a devotee, we used to come to the Bowery for various, it's the restaurant equipment place. And I saw what was described, we, and Avansarupa, I didn't know, this was before your time. We used to take all the Sunday feast remnants in Henry Street. And first we tried to get all the devotees to eat it because this is prasadam, right? So it shouldn't be wasted. But then that was a bit too much. So we used to keep it for a day and we used to bring it down here to the Bowery. And all the derelicts, they really liked it because it had a little punch to it after sitting around. So it was. But that was the place that Srila Prabhupada would live, and I saw those people, sleeping in their vomit. I mean, that was the life of this place. So it's not just, what you're seeing here, the whole place. And who would do that? It comes to mind a story that Shyamasundar Prabhu tells of meeting some years back. I think his name is Rod Scully, the family dog manager. Right? Some of you may have heard this story. Rod Scully was the manager of the Grateful Dead. No, this was the person who managed Family Dog Auditorium in San Francisco. So I'm not sure what his name is. Anyway, something. But anyhow, he met him in Zurich or something in an airport, and they got to talking about the hate in those days. And I'll call him Rod for want of a better name. He said, there were other Swamis that came, but Prabhupada was different. He said, he was one of us. He was one of us. He connected. He could connect with us because he understood, really understood what was going on inside of us, what we were looking for. And he'd been a revolutionary. He'd been in the Gandhian. He knew about, the freedom, fighting for freedom. He understood what was at our core, and he was willing to accept the inner us. So I'm here, along with all of us here, feeling so grateful. And someone, who was it? I think, was it you? No, you. No. You were saying, oh, we are so grateful to you. You paved the way. We happen to be there. We're old enough. But I am grateful to you, all of you here, because you have kept us. You've enabled us to keep going by keeping this movement going, building it, growing it. And my gratitude is to all of you, and for, what was this thing, the pioneers? This is, you were saying that. You're all still pioneers. We're just approaching now just a little closing this next year will be the 60th anniversary of the foundation of ISKCON here in this room. Right here on July 13th, 1966. Srila Prabhupada, maybe he was sitting here, I don't know where he was sitting, but he brought out a piece of paper. In through that door walked a gentleman, quite unusual sight to see someone in a suit and tie in this environment. Walked in and Prabhupada brought out a paper and said, now we're going to, we need some signatures. And everyone said, well, I think some of the devotees remarked that, they thought, well, it must be for some sort of, they knew he had some issues with his visa and how to stay, and maybe some tax thing or something. Anyway, all right, yeah, we'll sign it. Who could see? Who could see? And here it is. So thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.
Tita Guna, would you care to say something?
Yeah.
Up to you. Thank you. While she's working her way up, I'm in an awkward position. I don't want to correct a senior. I am junior to you, but you say that you happened to be the ones, right?
Yeah.
You happen to be there. But I've been taught that nothing happens by chance. And I've also heard that Prabhupada said that Lord Chaitanya personally sent all of you nice boys and girls to help me with this movement.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vastaya Today. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Ti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devim Gauravani Pacharane. Nivishesha Shunyamani Paschacharya Sutavani. I just want to say that this is one of the most wonderful days of my life, that I'm able to be here and be part of this celebration. Srila Prabhupada looks just like this. I remember he looks just like this, and he was always so merciful. Anytime I remember that I prayed to Srila Prabhupada very much from the core of my heart, that he would respond. For example, in 1976, it seemed like Srila Prabhupada really wasn't traveling so much. But then I prayed from the core of my heart that Srila Prabhupada would personally come to Australia, where I was. He would come to Australia and personally initiate me. And in those days, there was a lot of initiations by letter. And then the devotee said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada's coming." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." They say that in all the temples. Prabhupada's coming just to enliven the devotees. But they said, no, he's coming. So, sure enough, Srila Prabhupada came to Melbourne, Australia. It's kind of like an outpost or something like that. But I was praying so hard, please, Srila Prabhupada, I want to personally meet you and be initiated by you. So, Srila Prabhupada, it was time for the initiation, and I said, Srila Prabhupada, I want you to personally initiate me. And his secretary at that time would make up the names. And So my name was Louise, and he decided, we'll call you Anita. And I'm like, no, I don't want that name. I want Srila Prabhupada to personally initiate me and give me my name. So I went up to see Srila Prabhupada at the initiation, and I went up to him, and he said, okay, your name is Anita. No, he said, no it isn't. Your name is not Anita. Anita means without a path, and we have a path. I'm going to call you Atita Guna Devi Dasi. I just realized then that any prayer that you say to Srila Prabhupada will ultimately fructify. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
What does the Tita Guna mean?
Above the modes of nature.
What does the Tita Guna mean? Above the modes of nature was that exchange of yours. Chitra Leka.
Hare Krishna, thank you everyone for being here. First, to give a little perspective on how this all came together. I wasn't directly involved in most of it, but my husband was. And so I saw it from afar, the frustration, the anxiety, the love, the desire to create.
Can you mention who your husband is?
Yes, Mom and Dave. So the Dave brothers. So the ongoing, from day one, every day, oh, this needs to be done. Oh, it's not done yet. What are we going to do? It's never going to be ready. And, so going on and on, it just reminds me of how it came together so quickly and beautifully, like he spoke about, that it reminds me so much of the early days when Prabhupada sent us to foreign countries, to myself, and at that time we went to Fiji Islands, we went to early days India, but then early days Australia, and we had no qualifications for doing anything there, and Prabhupada, but Prabhupada, we can't, we don't know how to do all that. He says, Krishna will give you what you lack. He will fulfill everything that needs to be done. And so with great faith in what Prabhupada told us, we went into the world so many, it's just, and now to see this, to bring it back to 26 2nd Avenue is just very moving and wonderful. And thank you all for being here, and thank you everyone who was involved, and Radhanath Swami for envisioning this and pursuing it, and pushing Adidev to keep at it, So thank you all.
I'm going to attempt to change it up ever so slightly right now. And go to,
Could we just reflect on one thing she just said?
oh, in a minute, you minute.
Devotees being sent all over the planet Earth when they were 1-year devotees, 2-year devotees. This is so inconceivable that you did this. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that, Rameshwar Prabhu. Because, you know, a lot of devotees fell down, right? And sometimes they're criticized for falling down. But what you just said, it's incredible. 22, 23, 25, whatever. You're in charge of all of this. You're going to be worshipped. I mean, it's staggering. God bless those devotees. Oh. So in my attempt to switch it up here, would you mind telling me your name, young lady? Yeah.
Taya.
Taya? Taya. Taya is here. Who is Taya? When Taya was a little girl, she met Srila Prabhupada. Taya, would you mind coming up and just saying a few words?
Hare Krishna. I was 5 years old, and my father was a sculptor, so he would drive me into the city. I would accompany him, and we would usually drive up the Bowery. And I remember one time, I would always sit in the back seat, and we were standing at the red light on 2nd Street in Bowery, and I saw this elderly man dressed in orange, and he was playing the cartels. He was walking alone down the Bowery, and I was asking my dad, who is that man? And my father said, he's from India. And I said, look at his shoes. They're so pointy. I said, those are rubber shoes. And I was very excited. I wanted to say hello to him, so I kept waving. I rolled down the window and I said, hello, hello, hello. And in the middle of his chanting, he turned his head to me and he smiled. He acknowledged me, and I was so happy. And this was before he had any devotees. So I feel kind of blessed in living in this building and recollecting this experience of meeting Srila Prabhupada.
I feel blessed to have met Taya. We were coming here for a program 2 years ago, and we came early and it was all locked up. And Taya was, she lives here right in the back. And so she said, yeah, well, we come in. Maybe sometimes this door is open, right? Because that door was closed. So we came in and it was still locked anyways. And then we started talking and she told me this story. And I said, wow, that's pretty far up. And you know, Taya, I've been telling your story, I think I've told it now about 20 times in Malaysia, in Fiji, in Australia, because it tells us something about Srila Prabhupada and the holy names. How his faith in the holy name. He didn't have a Sankirtan party, he didn't have devotee, he had a pair of kartals, his pointy shoes, and he's walking on the Bowery doing Sankirtan. Alone. That was his faith in the holy names. And I could go on telling stories about that, but It's just Prabhupada's ending statement in his poem, Markine Bhagavata Dharma. Bhakti nai, Veda nai, Nam Kub Daro. His faith in the holy name is why we're here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Tyler. Yes, it's not only the initiated devotees that Prabhupada has touched. These seeds are very deep and very far-reaching, and not nearly most of them have fructified yet. Hansarupa Prabhu, would you care to say anything more? You did talk about the shoes.
I would like to just distribute the mercy whenever it's opportunity.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Adi Purusha Prabhu, I come to you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Why are we here?
Prabhupada.
Huh?
Prabhupada taught us.
We're here to please Krishna. All of you are pleasing Krishna by coming here to honor Srila Prabhupada. You're pleasing Krishna. Please remember that. So you're successful coming here. Krishna's pleased. We just read yesterday in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the glance of the devotees. And Mataji was just saying about how Prabhupada glanced at her. And maybe people know this or not, when Prabhupada came on the Jaladuta, and the boat was coming into Boston Harbor, there was a boat, I think it was a, what do you call it, not a tugboat, who are the police?
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard cutter, and there was someone on the deck of the Coast Guard cutter, and he saw Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't speak to him. It was Prabhupada's first glance coming onto the continent of North America. And he looked at this devotee, and Prabhupada looked at him, and he became a devotee. So the glance of the pure devotee, Krishna's love is flowing through Srila Prabhupada. I want to thank whoever brought Srila Prabhupada's murti here and invited him here. Of all the decorations in the whole 26th Avenue, seeing Prabhupada sitting there, wow, he looks so present, right? So wonderful that they've evoked the presence of Srila Prabhupada by the murti. Yeah. Good job. Anyway, just as if we hear from Krishna and we repeat, even Malati, his daughter, 5 years old, was saying, do you know who Krishna is? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And Prabhupada said, just see, she is Guru. Chakravarti Prabhu was telling me when he was a college student in London, he's from Germany, but he was in London, and he was following the Harinam party back to the temple, and they were cleaning the temple and getting ready for the Sunday feast. And he was a college student. They said, you can clean the stairs. And he was like, you clean the stairs? So he was sitting there with one finger, just going reluctantly, just, going through the motion. And again, Malati's daughter came up to him and said, that's not how you serve Krishna. You serve Krishna like this. Completely smashed his false ego, and he said, my God, even the children. So just as if we tell somebody what we heard, just as if we give prasadam, if we give a book, each of you is called upon, just as Srila Prabhupada glanced upon that, soldier on the boat, just as he glanced at Mataji here, while he was going up 20, each of you should glance upon the people that you come in contact with, and in your heart you can say, Krishna loves you. Right? We can do that. Anyone can do that. It doesn't cost anything. You are empowered by the Sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada's grace. Okay, I'm talking too much. I'll go to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anecdote Prabhu. Siddhant Prabhu, would you like to share anything?
Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. It's hard to follow up with what everybody else has said. There's not much more. Actually, there's infinitely much more that can be said. I joined here in New York, not at this temple. At that time, I was about 12 years old, or 10, 12 years old. But I was very interested in yoga and meditation, and I used to see the devotees chanting in the streets of New York City. And sometimes I felt, I'm just going to go across the street. I don't even want to go near those people. I think others have had that experience too, right? But eventually, when I got interested in yoga, I went to a yoga center here in the Lower East Side. And then I got interested in Krishna consciousness. And one of the first things I did was, I didn't get this record album, the Happening album. I got the Radha Krishna Temple album, which was, Prabhupada wasn't chanting on this album. This was Yamuna Devi chanting and other devotees. Bhaja Unre Mana, the wrong way. Bhaja Mana Unre, they were chanting it backwards, something Prabhupada didn't like it. But, so I joined at a very young age, and Prabhupada actually, you know, the ashram where he was staying uptown was not very far from where I grew up, on 100th Street and West End Avenue here in New York City. But I was too young at that time to, I came to the temple when it was at, was it 61 2nd Avenue. And I saw Kirtan was there, and many other devotees from there. I remember that from 61 2nd Avenue. And I never actually came to this temple. And we have to remember that the name of this was Matchless Gifts. Nobody said that yet. This was Matchless Gifts. So that fits right into the whole concept of what we're doing, what went on here and what continues to go on here, the matchless gift of Krishna consciousness. And eventually I finished high school. I moved into the temple on Henry Street, and all these wonderful Henry Street devotees are here, Rukmini Devi and others, Pracharatna. And that was the end of my material life. Prabhupada saved us, saved me. And this was the beginning, but it continues. So here I'm going to make a pitch. It continues because it's going to maybe not end with, but it's going to manifest further as the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium, the TOVP. So this was just the spark, and the fire is growing and growing. And now this Temple of the Vedic Planetarium is going to open in 2027, guaranteed, that year. And by the way, we're doing it that year for other reasons, but the main reason that we just realized was that it's the 50th anniversary of the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, 2027. So that will be a very important year to continue the Hare Krishna explosion. Right? So this is where the Hare Krishna explosion began. And now there's going to be another Hare Krishna explosion. This is the hydrogen bomb of Krishna consciousness. And from there, it will expand more and more. This place is going to be filling up with people coming off the street. What is this Hare Krishna all about? I got one of those books. I heard about this temple in India and this wonderful philosophy. What is this all about? So
it's really wonderful that this, I'm so happy to see this. And by the way, I don't know if I can reveal this or not, but I'm going to. There's a plan to actually buy this entire building.
Beautiful.
The whole building.
What a great idea.
If it becomes available. So keep your transcendental thumbs crossed or fingers crossed, whatever. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila.
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. Okay, just to give you we've been here for a while. It's been nectarian for sure. I'd like to invite His Grace Guru Prasad Prabhu to come up to say a few words, after which I'll invite His Holiness Ranath Maharaj to come up and say a few words. Then we have a wonderful video that we're excited about showing you. It's about 6 minutes long. And then we'll do some acknowledgements. We'll do some acknowledgements and Kirtan.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees. I owe a lot to devotees actually, because I got to know Srila Prabhupada only through the devotees, especially the Sankirtan devotees. So, my encounter with Prabhupada, I'm a latecomer, both by age and also chronologically, because I met Prabhupada in the mid-70s. So, actually, I got a letter from initiation in 77. January, so pretty much the last year of Prabhupada's physical presence in this world. But as much I'm inspired with Prabhupada's teachings, no less measure, I'm inspired also by the writings and lectures of Prabhupada's disciples, particularly disciples who actually give their entire life in the service of Srila Prabhupada. I'm just a grahastha. What can I say? I say thank you to all.
Doing great,
I didn't mean to be emotional, but I couldn't help. I hope they understand. Yeah. I also wanted to make it short and sweet, so I will not prolong it anymore. Once again, thank you for people who have organized this event particularly. And there's going to be a lot more coming up for this wedding, and I definitely wish everything comes true sooner than we expect. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. You never have to apologize for being emotional. Bhakti is about emotion. Bhakti is about emotion, and that's what Prabhupada is helping us to do. To take down all those barriers and get in contact with the love that bubbles up so much. That's why they cry all the time in the spiritual world. There's just, Krishna Loka, they're just crying all the time out of pure love. Pure love. Thank you for that demonstration. We're gonna just make one detour and ask His Holiness Chandramoli Swami. I can come to you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Magyan Timidandasya Ginajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Wow, what an auspicious occasion. What an assembly of devotees. My heart has been just spinning with happiness just listening to everyone and reflecting deeper on what Krishna consciousness is and what Srila Prabhupada has given us. And I want to begin by saying one thing, and that is to, I don't know if the word congratulation is proper, but a heartfelt appreciation for His Holiness Radhanath Swami's vision to bring back a legacy of Srila Prabhupada in a visual way by establishing what Prabhupada was like and what this place was like when Srila Prabhupada was here. But I want to add one thing. I was recently in Calcutta, and I went to the place where Srila Prabhupada first met his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And the devotees were showing me the place where His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati spoke those words that went deep into Srila Prabhupada's heart, that take this message to the Western world. And the devotees who were organizing and keeping that place, they told me His Holiness Radhanath Swami came and gave them the vision to recreate that place as it was when Bhakti Siddhanta was here also. So I want to thank, of course not thank you, but just to see how Maharaj has that vision of recreating the places that were so sacred to our movement and special as places that initiated our Krishna consciousness. So thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, too.
I was reflecting a little bit about before Srila Prabhupada came here and what he had to endure in order to begin his movement here, and how it was not easy but completely difficult as he encountered so many difficulties. His typewriter was stolen, there was one other item that was stolen.
His own manuscript of the Bhagavad Gita was stolen.
Bhagavad Gita was stolen, and then he got relocated into another place, and then he had to share that loft with a person who was somewhat addicted to drugs. That person went wild and actually started to attack Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada had run out of that place. The man was a maniac, being influenced by these intoxicated substance. And Prabhupada had no place to go. And then the devotees who had known Prabhupada at that time, which was Mukunda, and who else was there at that time?
Hayagriva Kirtan.
Hayagriva and Kirtan. They worked hard and they found this place for Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was happy that he had a place actually that he could call his own, and he could actually start beginning in a very serious way to expand Krishna consciousness. And it was interesting also, I was reading how when Prabhupada was making the initiation of this particular place, in other words, he was establishing it as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He included the landlord into the whole thing, and he said, "We want to make you a member also, and so that's a $20 fee. So you must deduct that from the rent." And he did. He was happy to join because Prabhupada's charm and his love and his selflessness in talking to the landlord at the time. The rent was $125 plus $71 for the apartment. So $196, so Prabhupada got knocked it down $20.
That's a good way.
But I think Prabhupada was more interested in bringing him in than getting that.
That was a lot of money in 1966.
A lot, yeah. I can remember you could buy a brand new car for $4,000 those days.
I'll tell
Less
you
than that.
what.
$1,000 would buy you a house in '66.
Yeah. Now you can't even buy a phone for that. But I had an interesting experience which kind of gave me a broader, I can't say broader insight, but a greater appreciation to who Srila Prabhupada was. I was in Mayapur, and this was at least 18 years ago. Bhakti Swami Maharaj had organized a satsang of all the Prabhupada disciples to come to his place in Mayapur, and we would sit there. And we started early in the evening, and we would, one after another, everyone was telling their realizations, their experiences with Srila Prabhupada. Bhavananda Prabhu got up, and he spoke something that was really, mystical. And it was mystical from his experience and the way he explained it. He said, I was with Srila Prabhupada, and I was massaging him. Of course, we understood, Shruti Kirti used to do that, but Bhavananda also at times. And Bhavananda was saying, Prabhupada was unusually quiet. He's usually always speaking about Krishna or how to spread Krishna consciousness. His mind was always thinking in those two ways. Spread Krishna consciousness, bring people in. How can we expand this movement? Prabhupada was unusually silent. And then Prabhupada spoke, and he said it was like from another world. He said, I was with Krishna in the spiritual world. And Krishna said, go to the material world and preach. And I said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada speaking, I said to Prabhupada, material world, horrible place. Horrible place. And then Krishna turned to me and said, no, you go. You write some books, and I'll protect you. So I came. So Bhavananda told that story. And ever since I heard that story, and he heard it directly from Srila Prabhupada, this doesn't take away from the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. I think it enhances the greatness of Srila Prabhupada in the sense that he had nothing to gain. He was already a pure devotee, fully Krishna consciousness, always associated with Krishna. But he wanted to give that to everyone as a means to bring Krishna's desire into the world by making the world Krishna consciousness. And as it was said by many of you, how he sacrificed everything, including his health, including his personal comforts, everything, just to bring Krishna consciousness to us. And Prabhupada said one time, he said, I had to walk through fire to spread this movement. I didn't look left, I didn't look right, I just looked straight ahead. I was keeping my focus on Krishna and spreading Krishna consciousness. That was Prabhupada, one pointed in his. So there's so much we can say, glorification of Prabhupada, it's unlimited. And the experiences that the devotees have are deep in their hearts, and they carry that with them. They teach others about Krishna consciousness and Prabhupada based on their own experiences and their own understanding of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, he is alive. He who reasons ill, who say that Vaishnavas die, are that are living still and sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and living or spread the holy name around. And that's a whole other subject, which for me is the essence of my happiness in Krishna consciousness. He inspired me to chant. When I listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, he always includes the importance of chanting Hare Krishna, the glorification of the holy name, and he brings everything back to the essence. Just chant Hare Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much, Chandramali Maharaj. Excuse me. I'd like to invite up the visionary and the inspiration for the team of devotees who helped to create this, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj.
Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtadhyaveshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sincerely grateful to all these wonderful devotees who dedicated so much of their hearts and lives to give us this opportunity to experience Srila Prabhupada in this very intimate, historic way at 26 Second Avenue. Thank you, Adidev Prabhu, Ramadev Prabhu, and all others. And thank all of you for coming this evening. In Srila Prabhupada's conversations and lectures, and even sometimes in purports of his books, again and again he would reminisce of his time at 26 Second Avenue when he began this movement. Just yesterday, I was listening to a recording, 1972, his Nectar of Devotion classes at the Samadhi Mandir of Srila Rupa Goswami. And he was describing how he began this movement. He described sitting alone under a tree at Tompkinson Square. And gradually people started coming. And he talked about coming here and starting the storefront at 26 Second Avenue. Can you imagine if every devotee connected to ISKCON throughout the entire world were to come at the same time to sit in this storefront? Well, at the beginning, when Srila Prabhupada first came, actually there was no devotees. There was only a few well-wishers who were not following any regulative principles. They just liked Swamiji. And Srila Prabhupada, when he came to 26 Second Avenue, he was alone with no one and no support. I believe he was in America for about 10 months. And he would try to sell his Srimad Bhagavatams in different bookstores or to people he would meet. And to pay the rent here, practically his whole savings of his book distribution. And when Srila Prabhupada was sitting here at that time, it probably took a couple months to fill this room. Every single devotee of Srila Prabhupada's movement filled less than half of this storefront. But Srila Prabhupada had the vision, the compassion, and the determination to carry on. Sometimes he would describe how he was wandering like a homeless vagabond in New York City. Sometimes in the Bowery, going various places wherever he could survive. Why did he keep going? The reason is the very reason why the Hare Krishna movement has expanded all over the world and will continue to expand. Because from his very heart and soul, he cared about every living being, and he eternally cares about every living being. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes cite from the Srimad Bhagavatam that when you water the root of the tree, then you nourish the entire tree. But if you neglect the root, then you can't really nourish the tree. And Srila Prabhupada is the root of every devotee worldwide who has received Krishna consciousness. And to satisfy Srila Prabhupada, to please Srila Prabhupada, I cannot think of any other way that we can better please Krishna. And here in 26 Second Avenue, we can have a direct experience of what Srila Prabhupada did to give Krishna consciousness to us, and how dear that is to Krishna. Nothing could take priority to what will please Srila Prabhupada, and that will be forever the root of our whole movement. Years ago, I was in Vrindavan, and I visited Srila Prabhupada's quarters, the place where at Krishna Balaram Temple he met so many devotees, and eventually on his bed he departed physically from this world. And the devotees of Krishna Balaram Temple, especially Devi Shakti Devi and Dinabandhu Prabhu, they have very meticulously preserved the room exactly the way it was when Srila Prabhupada was there. It's not that every year they buy him a new bed. It's the same bed. And they even have the same sheets. And everything is laid out the same way. And actually that room could be a great preaching room. It could be a great prasadam room. But I see devotees, and I personally, when I put my head at the feet of that bed and experience in such a special and intimate way, this is where Srila Prabhupada departed from this world. And how 26 Second Avenue, this is the place that Srila Prabhupada, when he had nothing and no one, he began our movement. Yes, it is our whole team's prayer that 26 Second Avenue can be a place of so much wonderful preaching, but primarily a place of pilgrimage. Because I have never met a devotee anywhere on the planet that doesn't know about 26 Second Avenue. Has anybody ever met anyone? People will come to America just to be in pilgrimage in 26 Second Avenue. And this is a reality. So if we can provide as a service to Srila Prabhupada and all of his devotees a real tirtha, a place of pilgrimage to deeply meditate on
pray and experience Srila Prabhupada in this time that was so intimate and dear in his own life. Till his last breath, he would speak about this place. I'm hoping and praying groups will come and the doors could be open throughout the day so any individual devotee could just come here and pray to Srila Prabhupada and cry in gratitude to Srila Prabhupada and be in the presence of Srila Prabhupada in this very special way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Maharaj? Maharaj? I want to run through a list of acknowledgements, but first and foremost, to once again acknowledge the Deva brothers. We really, yeah, go ahead. Really, the project, I don't know what the project would have been like without them. Their expertise, their true devotion. You know, it's Prabhupada first, and that's seemingly how they got their empowerment to do what they did, and to work with us, clumsily trying to follow them. So in gratitude, we have just a humble gift that Maharaj has agreed to give to you. Yeah. Okay, so sometimes I'm in the position to acknowledge people for their help, and I invariably forget somebody. So we have a written list here of the team members who have been instrumental with this project in one way or another. Still, I don't trust it. So please accept my apologies if you are a devotee who has helped, whose name I have not read. Anantacharya Prabhu, who is in charge of so much of the artistic elements here. Yeah. A key person in arranging for the Murti to come and just overseeing so many areas of this. We thank you very much. Jaini Tai Prabhu, one of the key managers of this project. Just the wisdom that he gives us, that he shared with us based on his experiences, his emotional support, and just the general good vibes from that man. His better half, Bhava Bhakti. Social media outreach, finance outreach, creating flyers, ads for this event, tirelessly working. Venu Madhuri, I can't begin. Where is she? I don't see her. Is she here?
Raise your hand. I don't know if she could get in.
Oh, okay, Venu. Okay, Venu Madhuri.
I'm setting up for Sadam at the Bhakti Center.
Okay, she says I'm setting up prasadam at the Bhakti Center.
As I hear on the live stream, they're doing acknowledgements.
As I hear on the live stream, they're doing acknowledgements. Well, that kind of tells the story. She left this nectar to go set up so we could take prasadam. She's the CEO of this project in many ways. Just ordering, planning, but not only ordering and planning, doing. Generous donations. She gave so much of her time and effort. We thank you a lot, Venu Madhuri. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, Ishwarya, Saraswati, and Soham recreated Prabhupada's drum. Which, if you see, you should not play. Instead of getting a leather drum head, which is common, it's clay. So keep that in mind. Thank you for that. Nadia Kishore Prabhu and Ishwarya hosting Vamanadev Prabhu twice. Jagannath Gopal and Ishwarya and Divya for hosting Adidev Prabhu. Brinda Gopi for coordinating and arranging for garlands, who also made a $1,000 donation for this project. Sundari Saki Mataji, shopping for cloth and other random errands of importance. We thank her. Her husband Karan for ordering Srila Prabhupada's Cadillac. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, again, for creating the video that you're going to be seeing in a matter of minutes. Grace and Tima are two devotees who came from the UK, ostensibly for Ratha Yatra, but no. Krishna had other ideas. He engaged them in a big way with lots of little stuff that seems insignificant, but is not. Is in no way insignificant. Thank you. Manishika for enhancing all the photos, and she's a content creator as well. Bhakta Chris, he painted for us, he drove miles also for painting. Haribol. The gifted carpenter, Bruce, who made shelves and other items. Vanya, who managed the event for Prabhupada's disciples over at Bhakti Center earlier this afternoon. And planned that all out. Anantacharya Prabhu's parents, Satya Narayan Prabhu and Madhvi Devidasi, who sponsored this murti of Srila Prabhupada. Bhakteen Gale, who sponsored the shipping and delivery. Theo Pinto, artist extraordinaire. He did a lot of help in various areas with the panels, general help, and also extremely generous donations. Of course, His Holiness Radhanath Swami for his vision, guidance, and inspiration. Lastly, a sincere thank you to Nitya Kishori and Akanta Bhakti, my wife, Gaur Kumar's wife and my wife respectively, for not divorcing us during this process. And probably other spouses as well. So thank you all very, very much. Yashoda Bilal Prabhu from France, who is in New York. Yes, he's done a lot. Even before this project, he was helping 22nd Avenue. He built the Vyasasana that we used to have here. He's done so much for this project as well. Nayana Manjari. Treasury, thank you for all your help.
Prabhu, I have to mention one thing that you did not mention, if you don't mind.
I live to be corrected.
It's not a correction. Anyone who wants to donate to this temple, you have a website where you can have any amount and it's recurring. So once you give it, it's to the rest of your life you're giving. And I would like everyone in this room to think about that. Recurring donations are much more appreciated than just one-time donations. Thank you.
So we also wanted to give very special gratitude and thanks to two gentlemen who engaged us, all of us, and made this project happen. Gorkumar Prabhu. One of the humblest devotees you're ever going to meet, so even now he's like sinking into the floor. And on the other spectrum, the loudest, garrus person you can... Yadunath Prabhu. So we'd like to thank these two devotees for their sincere dedication and their, just hearts, the beautiful hearts that they bring to this project. Thank you both very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, yes. I had written down here, and just one more thing about Gaur Kumar. He was truly the spine of this process and the spiritual heart that kept us all going. So, John. I'm going to hand things over to Jagannath Gopal.
So there is a little bit of a technical snag. So the sound will be coming out from this device, Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, you could?
Yeah. Hold them together. Bluetooth. Hold them together.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there will be a little lag when Mukunda Maharaj speaks, just so you know.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is calling me. Please come out with me. It is by his grace I was forced to give up my family life and so-called business life. And he brought me somewhere or other in preaching his gospel. On the sea at Boston Port, I was thinking that I have come here, I do not know what is the purpose. So I was thinking that I will propose something which is impossible. Anyway, let me try.
When Prabhupada was in his first place dowry, he had a conflict with the 18-year-old person that he was living with. He said that the man had his words, ill-named me. In other words, he used swear words. He was angry with Prabhupada. This man was actually dangerous. He was not just deranged. He was a dangerous person. He could actually cause physical harm to the person he was living with. So one day he decided to just pack up and depart from that place, and he went to my place. At about that time I realized that the Swami needed a better place to operate from. I took it upon myself to find such a location. What I finally did was I went to a newsstand, where a newspaper called The Village Voice
arrives before any other newsstands. And I looked in the lofts or storefronts for rent or for sale section and found this place called 26 2nd Avenue. And I went to the nearest telephone booth and phoned and made an appointment to see the rental agent. I think I saw him the next day. It happened very fast. And he said that this place is for rent, 26 2nd Avenue, and I'm willing to let you have it. And he told us that it was going to be $100 per month. And he said that he had another place in the same building that Prabhupada could live in, an apartment. And Prabhupada agreed, and that became his first residential quarters, right across from the storefront on 26 2nd Avenue, through the courtyard and up one flight of stairs.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. The hypnotic rhythmic chant of 16 words has replaced LSD and other drugs for some in New York's East Village. On 2nd Avenue and 1st Street is a storefront in which a Hindu Swami has set up shop. There, his American disciples are learning about Krishna consciousness.
So I started in 1966 lecturing in a storefront, living in that apartment in 26 2nd Avenue. Then gradually these boys, American boys and girls began to come. Then I started my ISKCON in Tompkins Square. More and more, these young Americans, they came to me and things were organized. Then I registered this Krishna Consciousness Society under New Year's Act of New York in 1966. From going to 26th Avenue, taking this list of $200, then I become before that, I was sent to Nagaraj. That was the first center. So after getting the center, I began to go.
If you're glad you came today, please say Haribol! All right, very good. So I would like at this point to ask Anuttama Prabhu if you would lead Kirtan, like a 10-minute Kirtan. Is that okay? Thank you very much. And then following that Kirtan, we can go to Bhakti Center for a full Prasadam feast, which will take place on the 3rd floor. That's the temple in the back of the temple room on the 3rd floor. Thank you oh so much for coming here tonight. And during the Kirtan, Hansarupa Prabhu, would you mind? So Hansarupa Prabhu will give you the mercy of the shoes during Kirtan. So sing, chant, dance, and get online.
Who?
It's switched off. Is it not switching off?
Oh, Krishna.
Actually, just one second.
Thank you. Om Vishnu Padaya.
Jai Prabhupada.
Not easy, Mataji. Standing up for so long doing this. I was like, wow.
But you know, Prabhu, this will be for the future generation. Like we look at the movies, black and white program now, that's all we got. And one day only Prabhupada will start doing movies. And this
Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki EBT founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Ramsa Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada's matchless gifts Holy Dham Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Savior of the whole universe Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gopa. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we have lost our MC, but I think the announcement that's left is for everyone to head over to the Bhakti Center. Third floor, back at the temple hall, we'll be serving prasadam now, so everyone can make their way over. Thank you all very much for being here this evening, for making this just such an ecstatic, monumental, and special, memorable event. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much to Hamsa Rupa Paru for transporting the transcendental slippers all the way from Brooklyn. And please don't forget, Thursday, Kirtan in the Park, Tompkins Square Park. Friday, Kirtan in the Park. And then Times Square in the afternoon. And then of course Saturday is Rathayatra.
Actually, one of the things, John and Ty, many people don't know, that Srila Prabhupada landed in New York in Brooklyn at the Marine Terminal, which used to be the Brooklyn Marine Terminal, now where there is a Home Depot. But that used to be the Brooklyn Marine Terminal. So Prabhupada stepped first in Brooklyn.